this week's episode of Mixed Media Monday. Today I'm kind of just wanting to create an art journal page, and I'm just kind of going through the scraps of things and ripping things up, and I don't even know where this is going. You know, a lot of times I don't even really pay much attention to what I'm putting into my base collage because a lot of times you never end up seeing it at the end. And I'm not sure, how this is going to go because I was feeling a little bit in a funk. All I wanted to do was spatter a bunch of stuff on a page, and I wanted to use colors I don't usually use. And so I just kind of started out in a non-thinking fashion, just kind of, playing it as my brush went and as my hands went. And I actually had company at the time, and she was making an art journal page beside me, and so I was chit-chatting through the whole thing, and really there wasn't a whole lot of thought planning, any of that put into this, and I just kind of kept following this project wherever it ended up taking me. And I can't say that I love where it went, but I definitely met the pre-established requirements that I had created of just letting it flow and using colors and stuff that I didn't usually use. And so my original plan was to do the collage here, and then I would add some color to it, and then I would add some washi tape to it, and then I'd add some more color. Then the washi tape would resist some of the color, and then I would put something in big bold letters stamped on it, some kind of saying or something, and a bit of stamping around the edge. But that's not exactly where I ended up going. So if you'll bear with me, we'll go through the first few steps of what my plan actually was, and then I'll show you where I went after that in my refusing to think fashion. So after I get this all on here, I only put out so many pieces of collage paper, so I didn't have enough. I made sure that I didn't have enough to cover the whole page. And then I took my heat gun and I dried it. I did remove all of my drying parts of my process video because I wanted to shrink the video down a little bit. It was getting too long. So then I took my brayer and some Liquitex gesso, and I just kind of braided over top of that, and you can still see the pattern underneath, and once it dries you can still quite clearly see the pattern underneath, and even you can see the pattern in the wood grain type of paper. But then I heat dried it again with my heat gun. And then I just kind of grabbed 3 colors kind of at random from the neocolor 2s and started coloring with them. I was drawn by the purple, felt I had to use purple, and then I just kind of added 2 more colors. The blue goes really well with the purple, and then I don't know how I ended up with the yellow. I just saw it and felt like I had to use yellow. So the colors that I used there, the yellow is called lemon yellow. And once I liquefy it there, the blue is called turquoise blue, and the purple is called periwinkle. And I think it's a periwinkle blue, but yeah, so I'm just kind of going color by color and liquefying these colors, and as I go I'm kind of dragging a little bit of the yellow into the blue, and it's creating this greenish effect, and I'm kind of dragging the yellow and purple together, which is giving me a brownish effect, and I'm not too concerned about it. I was more wanting just to have it just this mishmash of color flowing through here. And then I added too much color in here and had to blend it out and stuff like that. So this is an old elementary school brush, and I find it's really good for my watercoloring because it holds lots of water and it just scrubs. It has those harsh bristles and it just scrubs the page. So it makes sure that all of the crayon color is nice and liquefied. I did heat dry it again to make sure it was nice and dry, and then I'm throwing some more gesso on top of it. And this is the point at which I thought I would just add some washi tape, dry it again, add some washi tape, and add some big letters, and I'd be done. That was how simple I expected this project to be, but that's not where I ended up. So I am just randomly adding washi tape. I probably should have limited it to like 3 or 4 spots with each kind of washi tape, but it just kept going and going and going. And once again, I was talking to somebody while I was creating, so maybe that's what was directing this. Maybe this is my visual flow of conversation, so to speak. So as you can see, for most of the collage that I originally added to this page, that's mostly gone by now, and it's about to be really gone by the time I'm done with this next set of color, and that's okay. I wasn't really attached to the collage anyway. I'm not often attached to my collages, unless I am paper piecing, but that's not usually my base collage. Usually my base collage is just this random mashing together of elements, and if they show through in the end, then ooh, what a miracle. And if they don't show through in the end, then it's no big deal. No one's gonna cry about it, no one's gonna be worried about it or anything like that. So these washi tapes, I'm pretty sure they're just some kind of, you know, something random from Michaels. The butterfly one is the only one that's not really a random, and I think that's from a scrapbooking store, but I couldn't tell you what product, whose product it was. I didn't really pay attention. It was, ooh, look, butterflies, buy that. And I'm sure that as creative people, I'm sure you've been through that. I'm sure you've, you know, seen something and just had to buy it, been an impulse buyer with that object, and that's what washi tape is for me. And I often can justify it because I'm like, oh, well, I'm only spending this little bit of money and I'm getting this big roll of you know, color and uniqueness for my projects. And then you get a bucket of them and realize what you've done. So I'm just going to liquefy all this color, and the washi tape is resisting for the most part, and that's kind of where I thought I would go. I really like the page as it is. I should just leave it here. So goodbye for now. No, I'm kidding. I continued on from here. I dried it with my heat gun, and after that I was looking at it going, something else is gonna happen here. And I went digging through my templates and my stencils and found some of those and found this stamp. And this stamp was like, oh, well, I can add a little bit more texture. And this stamp is on a block, so I really have no control over it. It just kind of does what it wants, and I usually end up with harsh edges, which I don't really like. But I'd like to take it off the block someday, but I'll get there. So I went through my stencils, and this is a mask that I'd created for another project, and so I don't know why I reached for red. This is primary red acrylic paint. I'm not sure why I reached for red, because my whole project is kind of, you know, these cool colors, and now I take this really hot color. So I don't know what I was thinking, or if I was thinking, or anything like that, but I just kind of was like, okay, well, whatever. And so I went around these masks, and then I went around the other one, and when I pull them off, I really like where that's going to be at, and I don't know why I continued doing what I did, but I filled in a lot of the page with the red paint that I had, and it was probably more of a thing of, oh, I have this leftover red paint, what am I going to do with it? Can't waste paint. And so I think that's where I kind of ended up, was the I can't waste paint. And then I added more to the palette and still couldn't waste it. So there you go. I can't really explain myself. So I really like this red, but on the screen it looks like it's red. In person, if you've ever used the primary red, you'll know what I'm saying when, as you're applying it, it really looks like a hot pink. And if you leave it in just a single thin coat, then it does stay like a hot pink on your page. So if that's what you want, this primary red kind of works out for that. But I ended up, you know, throwing this in here and filling in this gap, and I thought, oh, this is going to be too much red. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. It's going to be too much red. So I just kind of, you know, thickened it up around the butterflies and filled in another gap and thickened it up more around the butterflies, and tried to use up whatever paint was in that palette there. But yeah, it looks quite red in the video, but when you're actually working with it, it's quite a hot pink kind of color. And so here I go, I'm just going around the edges and I'm darkening it up around the edges. I did want it to be the thickest around the edges of the butterfly to clearly define the edges of the butterfly. And that worked out just perfectly. Once I got one layer of the paint on, then the other layers were nice and easy to apply and applied a little bit more smoothly. I think too that there was a slight issue with adhesion to the washi tape because I didn't cover it in anything like a acrylic gesso or a clear gesso or anything like that. A lot of times I will do that. I'll go through and cover my washi tape with a matte gel or a clear gesso just so that it has that extra adhesion layer on the top of the washi tape, especially in art journals where everything kind of rubs against each other and everything's always textured and everything. So then this stamp, I don't know who it's from. It might be a blue indigo. I'm not 100% certain. It's a background stamp and it's like a cracked wall or like a crackle paste kind of look to it. So then I was trying to go for this effect where you put a white line across the top of things on top of objects and you put a dark line under objects. And I'm doing this with my Stabilo All pencils. And I totally messed up the shadow on this one. I wasn't paying attention because I was busy chit-chatting with my company that was sitting beside me. And I just kind of went around here with the black and around there with the white, and I realized what I'd done by the time I got to the second one, and then I was actually paying attention to, okay, shadow and highlight, shadow and highlight, shadow and highlight. And we were good there. But by the time that I liquefy it, I don't like it anyway, so I don't put too much more time into it. I kind of give up on it. And it does stay as the highlight and shadow, but it's not, if I would have been more interested or, more inspired for this piece, I would have probably gone over it again with another light and dark set of lines. So what I'm doing there is I'm using a water barreled paintbrush, so it's got a barrel of water attached to it. And so what I do is I lay down a lift of water about a millimeter away from the line that I'm trying to liquefy. And I just put that layer of water there, and then I liquefy the actual Stabilo pencil, and then it kind of flows away from the butterfly to give a little bit of a mist kind of effect to it. And you won't see that very well with the white, but you see it quite well with the black. And you see how the black kind of just flows uncontrollably away, and that's just because it's flowing into that water line. And that's what I want it to do. I don't want the shadow to be nice, solid, firm, hard line shadow. I want this to be, a washout kind of look to it. And I really like that watercolor washout effect with the Stabilo Alls, and enjoy how it kind of flows. The Stabilo Alls do become permanent once they're dry, and they say that they can be used on all kinds of things like glass and metal and stuff like that, but I haven't really experimented too much with that. So then I just kind of make everything kind of flow and move, and then I go back in and I try to make it so that the white lines aren't so solid, so harsh, kind of blend everything into the background. And then I'll go through on the black lines and make sure that they blend nicely as well. I have been using these Stabilo All pencils quite a lot because I have a classroom set of them, and I haven't had a whole lot of classes using them. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, let's use up the supplies that we've got in-house. And so I've been using them a lot. But no matter how much I use, though, I haven't really gone through them all that much. They are the type of pencil that if you drop them quite a lot, then the lead will break on the inside and they'll become difficult to sharpen. But I did find that I took one of them with me in my truck, and it was one that it just would not sharpen at all. And it sat in the hot truck for a while, and after it sat in the hot truck for a while, it ended up solidifying on the inside. It kind of melted it on the inside, and I don't have any problems sharpening that pencil anymore. So I don't know if it was just a fluke or if that would actually work to put it in a warm space and that'll fix it or what, but it seemed to work for that one that I have. So this is just white gesso and some lids from some different things, and then I heat set them with my heat gun. I made them nice and and dry. Everything's nice and dry in here. All the Stabilo's dry, all of the gesso is dry. And then I'm going around back with these gelatos, and the gelatos that I'm using kind of mimic the colors on the inside of the butterflies or the base layer. And so the colors are called metallic grape for the purple, metallic mint for the green, and lemon for the yellow. And I don't know what I was thinking adding yellow. Most of the yellow kind of turns orangish because it's not opaque. It's more semi-transparent. And so you can see the red coming up through the yellow, and it gives kind of this orange glow to it, which there's nothing else in this entire page that, you know, is even close to orange. So it's weird. It's really weird. And this is a really unusual piece for me because these colors and this combination is nothing that I would ever gravitate towards. Like, I'm not a yellow. I usually don't gravitate towards yellow. I usually don't gravitate towards reds. I really love my greens. I really love my blues. And that's where I feel comfortable and happy. So I did include purples and blues in here, so that was good. But to add the red and yellow in there is kind of wonky for me. So this is kind of like a blind journey, so to speak. Well, and I had dried everything, but everything wasn't 100% dry. I should have dried it overnight to make sure everything was dry before using my pen up. But I grabbed my Faber-Castell Pitt pen in a medium nib, and I was trying to trace around this butterfly, and it was early morning when I was doing this, and I don't have any feeling in my hands in the morning. I have a lot of circulation issues, and so I was getting the wrong pressure, and it was pushing into the things like the gelatos, and that was making my nib dirty, and it just wasn't working. So I gave up. I grabbed a Sharpie, which is something I don't often grab. I don't like how Sharpie, like just the regular fine point Sharpie, I don't like how they turn green or gray and fade over time. So it's not often that I will reach for a Sharpie. But in this instance, because my hand just wasn't working and I didn't care if I destroyed the Sharpie, it seemed to work for this project. And I just kind of went around and created a little bit more of a defined edge to that butterfly. And I tried to stay inside the lines so that I didn't pick up too much of the other products. But it wasn't working 100% of the time. I had to keep scribbling it off and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go around this bottom one as well. And then I figure, okay, well, I don't know if these are bubbles or circles or balls or background or what. I'm just going to go around these circles as well, just to give them a little bit more definition as well. And so that's what I ended up doing. Now, I'm not sure, like I said at the beginning, I'm not sure that there was a whole lot of thought involved in this art journal. This is more, this is how I was feeling today. I was feeling, you know, kind of relaxed and happy, so you've got all your nice and relaxed tones in there, so your blues and your purples and stuff like that. And then we go into this, like, you know, overjoy, or, you know, this red kind of stuff. And I really didn't, I don't know that this page is something that I would create with intention. If somebody asked me to recreate this page, of course I could do it, but I would be, you know, probably changing up the colors to, you know, meet a kinder palette. But I guess it is what it is. So, like usual, once I'm at a point where I need to finish it up with some words, with some journaling or something, it's not often that I will write out journaling. And like I said, my hand wasn't working on this day, and so it was a challenge to really write anything. So I just popped over to Pinterest. I have a board on my Lizzie's Workshop profile, and that is called Quotes for Mixed Media. And I reached out and grabbed this one, and right now I'm writing, "It is inevitable that you will want to quit. The important thing is that you don't." And so I wrote it into 3 chunks. It is inevitable that you will want to quit. It is the important thing. And then the third space is going to be, is that you don't. And I did that so that I could color each one of them in the 3 gelatos that I had pulled out. And that way I would be able to pull all those colors from the bottom of the page right back up through to the top, and kind of create a cohesive bond between the layering of this piece. There wasn't really anything that was going to hold it together. Even now, when I look at it, I'm rejecting it because it just doesn't flow the way that my brain is used to having my pieces of art flow. Like, I'm used to getting to the end of a project and loving it so much that I don't want to do anything else with it, where this one doesn't make sense to my brain because of all the bright and brilliant colors, and there's no real, to my brain, cohesion to it. And so it is almost as though I want to go in and just gesso over it. I won't. I'll sign it. It'll be done. But the temptation is definitely there to go in and add some gesso here and there to this piece. And you know, when it comes to art journaling, or any art really, you don't have to always like what you create. And that is part of a learning curve that you'll go through when you do start journaling, is, oh, well, today I love my work, and oh, tomorrow I'm not going to like my work. And, you know, every day is kind of its own animal. And sometimes you create in anger, sometimes you create in joy. And your pieces are always different. You know, every page for me is a different animal. And that's because I just kind of let my art flow. And so I feel like I'm always growing and changing, but at the same time, I sometimes feel like I have to go a little bit backwards and you know, re-adventure through some techniques that I've learned in the past. Now, this technique that I did here, I did learn it out when I was at a creative arts crafting event, and that woman, she didn't like my color combinations at that event either. So I think that it just comes down to following your journey and taking your journey and learning what you can learn from your journey. And like this page says, you know, it's important that you don't quit. You don't have to like everything you create, but you have to make sure that you don't quit. I'm at a pivotal point right now when I'm trying to create something of myself that I want to move on with in my life. And so now I'm sitting here going, okay, well, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. Even when things are difficult, don't quit. So that saying follows into so many aspects of my life right now that it had to go on the page. And this page kind of speaks to that too, because I don't like this page, but I didn't quit on it. I did finish the page. So it all kind of works out in the end. When I was looking at this specific circle, I thought that maybe I would leave it just like that, but then I felt like I had to do everything with the same process. So I did go through and follow the same process as I had with the purple. And all I'm doing is going around the edge with the same gelato I had originally used, and I'm adding another layer around the edge and then smudging it with my thumb. And I'll do that for all of them. And then it gives me a little bit of a darker edge around the outside of each circle. I don't know where I'm going to put these circles. I don't know if the circles are too big. I couldn't decide. If I wanted the letters to, I couldn't decide if I wanted to cut all the letters apart and just have strips to glue on or what. And this is kind of just where I ended up. I had circles on the page already, so let's add more circles. So then I took my drafting brush and I wiped it off. I had dropped a whole bunch of little shards of the gelatos on there, and I didn't want to get into this situation where I was smudging gelato across everything. So I take my leftover gesso, I sprayed it with water. It wasn't liquefying enough, so I added some more gesso to it. And then I grabbed another paintbrush and spattered it all over everything. If you notice, I covered up the butterflies on the base because I didn't want them to have spatters on them. I wanted them to bring forth my bottom collage. You really don't see the papers anymore that I used in this project. You just see the color and the washi tape, but I liked how it worked out, so that was good. I tried to wipe up a little bit of a mess here, but I ended up just smudging some of the gesso and Stabilo together. And then I'm taking some heavy matte gel. I'm going to use that as glue. This is a really it's a really thick kind of texture to it, nice and smooth and thick, and it dries clear, so I like that about it. And after this I'm going to dry it with my heat gun, but once again I'll pull that part of the video segment out. So I'm going to smear it like butter on the back of this one as well, and then I'm going to glue that down and push it down with a little bit of pressure and go around the edges and everything. Now, I used to use a lot of the 3D matte gel from Finnabair and Prima from Art Basics, and I got to the point where I was using so much of it all the time and it was getting really, really expensive. So what I ended up doing is going to an arts and drafting store and finding a similar product in the golden lineup, and I could buy that at the crafting or at the art store by the bucket load. And so because I could buy it by the bucket load and I was teaching classes, I decided that that was the best way to go for this product. I've always been kind of afraid to get into the assemblage type of creating because it does use a lot of the heavy matte gel, but I didn't want to stay away from that genre anymore, and so this was my fix, is to go ahead and pick it up in a larger format at the art store. Once I had those shapes glued on, I just went back to my black Stabilo pencil, went around it, and then liquefied it with my, went around the circles and then liquefied them with the water brush again. And now I'm just trying to create a bit of a border to the page, and you did that with my Stabilo and my water brush once again. And then I am pretty much done with this project. At some point, once everything's dry, I'll go around and I'll go around and trim up the edges so everything is nice and smooth, but otherwise I am pretty much done with this page. So thank you very much for joining me, and remember to, if you like this video, to hit subscribe and to hit the thumbs up and to leave me a comment or a question, or maybe you want me to try out something or create something specific or something like that. But go ahead and leave a message and share my videos and all that stuff. I'd really appreciate all that. Once I smooth out these lines in here, I think that I am going to call it done. And then you'll get to see my big mess of how I was working. I'll zoom out for you and show you how I work. Here's everything, nice big pile, all the products I used for this project. It is inevitable that you will want to quit. The important thing is that you don't. Thanks for watching, and I hope you join me again for Mixed Media Monday.